you have to realize that when you're talking about your team that you're leading, it doesn't grow apart, it drifts apart. So if you're running your organization, your team just on autopilot, you're probably starting to drift apart and you may not know it. You may be aware, or you may remember some time ago, I guess it was a couple of years ago, there was a major airline that the flight actually overflew their point of intended arrival by about 150 miles. And it was on autopilot, and the crew apparently were not aware of what they were doing. On the one hand, that can sound like it's all about pilots, but the same can be true of organizations and leaders as well. The idea is, if you put your organization on autopilot, or if you put your team on autopilot, there's some assumptions you're making. First of all, you're assuming that everything's going to be basically what it was when you put the autopilot on. Also, you make an assumption that the autopilot's just going to get it done, when it may not. It's going to respond to whatever you tell it to do. So when you're talking about a rapidly changing environment of an organization, you have to understand when it's time to, if you will, turn your team's autopilot off and start actually leading the team to handle the changing environment, the factors that may be changing, or those unintended factors that you didn't predict. Bottom line is, don't put your organization on autopilot. And I'll leave you with one quote. A gentleman that I respect very highly, Jimmy Evans, says this about relationships, and it's also true of leadership. Relationships do not grow apart, they drift apart.
Why does it matter? Every person you lead has a why it matters. Every person you report to has a why it matters. The challenge is that whenever in us individuals, whenever this why it matter begins to feel threatened, a lot of times dysfunctional behaviors can arise. When you find your why it matters, I'm here to tell you the world needs that.